let's talk a little LL football awards, some end of the season awards, and it'll be a good transition here back to Cocalico as we talk about running back of the year candidates, Eric. There's only a few that we could talk about: Anthony Barraza, Andre Weidman, maybe one or two more. Where would you lean for who you would think you would hand your running back of the year award to?
Well, Andre Weidman is somebody that we had seen come onto the scene as a freshman, and we could just see him each year getting better and better. But what Anthony Barraza did this year is really incredible. As you mentioned, 1,962 yards, 23 touchdowns. He averaged 8 yards a carry. He had 2 300-yard games, 2 200-yard games, and 9 of his 23 touchdown runs this year were 50 yards or more. I mean, that just blows me away. The fact that this guy, once he gets past the line of scrimmage, gone, 6 points, just like that. And the Calico got to see that 9 times over the course of the season, and it was fun to watch too.
Yeah, and we called a couple of those games. You did more specifically. Tim, you on the same path here, or are you going a different way?
I am on the same path. This guy just I think, performed every other running back in the league. Royer maybe was probably second in that. Andre Weidman, saw him a couple of times. He's going to be back next year. I want to see Andre Weidman, though, play a little bit better against a better and bigger defensive line. But Barraza, look at the explosive speed. He's just running away from people. And that's when you know that you've got a great one back there.
Well, and there have been a few at Cocalico already. So that's running back of the year. Guys are on the same page. Now let's move on to wide receiver of the year. And again, these are all just our own thoughts, our own awards here. This is not actually something that the LL will hand out. They only hand out the Manheim Touchdown Club Player of the Year and Lineman of the Year. So we are doing this on our own accord here just to have some fun. Wide receiver of the year, Eric, what are some of the candidates you would love to see here, and who would you lean to?
Well, I'm going to stick in our backyard. I'm going to go with Cooper Eckert. Led the league in receptions, led the league in receiving yards, 16 yards per reception, 8 touchdowns. He had 6 games in which he had over 100 yards receiving. And this is a guy that came into the season as the lone returning receiver from a season ago. He had 9 receptions, and he and Jack Reed just made a very lethal 1-2 combination. And the fact that I think a lot of Eckert's success too was the way that Ryan Fink stepped up and was a very solid number 2 receiver. So that, I think, took some of the pressure off of Eckert and then eventually gave him some better one-on-one matches throughout the season.
All right, Tim, jump in here. There's also a receiver for Columbia, Javon Collazo, and of course, Manheim Central's Owen Sensenig, several others. Where are you leaning for wide receiver of the year?
At number 2, I'm going to go with Owen Sensenig just because I've seen him play several times. And like Eric said about Reed and Cooper Eckert, Judd Novak and Owen Sensenig just seem to be on cue all year. I didn't really see Owen Sensenig drop too many passes, but number 1, it's got to be Cooper Eckert. And I agree with you too, Eric, that Fink really complemented those 3 players well. But Cooper Eckert, just in a class above himself in the Lecture Lebanon League.
Yeah, Eckert.
Although we also have to mention the kid named Ivy from Manheim Township, who had a decent year. Will be going up to Penn State next year as well.
He did have a decent year, but yeah, not a breakout year that you would think from a guy that's going to Penn State like a Nick Singleton.
Right.
I thought Eckert had a great year. Again, those 1,100 yards, 8 touchdowns. Keep in mind, last year's actual Manheim Touchdown Club Player of the Year was Caleb Schmitz, and Lineman of the Year was Nolan Rucci. So Warwick took home all of the awards. We will see how that goes. That'll be after the new year when they award that. All right, here's one that I know Eric is probably excited to talk about, although it's probably not from our area. Quarterback of the year, Eric. I know you've been touting one young man all season long. We did not get to see a single snap. We just missed it one of the weeks. Who are you leaning to for here?
Nice lead in there, Chad. I like it. Yes, Robert Footman of Columbia. You know, you look at his numbers, and it's like Air Coryell. Well, Chad, you wouldn't know who
Nope.
that is. This kid completed 61% of his passes, threw the ball 294 times this year, 3,084 yards, led the league in passing yards, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. 3 games this year, he had 5 touchdown passes. 3 times. 2 times he had 4 touchdown passes, and then 1 time 3 touchdowns in a game. So this kid was just chucking it left and right. And then in his very last game, sets a Lancaster Lebanon League record with 536 passing yards against Upper Dauphin. And, you know, people will say, well, yeah, he can put up those numbers because when you throw it that often. Sure, I agree. But the opposing teams knew they were going to throw the ball, and they still couldn't stop him. So, hands down, Robert Footman, quarterback of the year.
Yeah, really. He's the only passer over 3,000. Obviously, you said the 34 touchdowns. Impressive numbers. Jack Reed for Warwick had 2,400 yards, 20 touchdowns, and Manheim Township's Hayden Johnson, 2,000 yards, 25 touchdowns. Tim, what are your thoughts on quarterback of the year, if that award existed?
I like what Eric said about the Columbia quarterback. I get it, but I'm going to go with Jack Reed only because I think he played a little bit better competition, and I saw him distribute the ball great. We'll see Jack Reed next year. But Eric, you can't argue with those numbers. I would have loved to have done the stats for that game when the kid threw 536 yards, though.
I don't think you would have. I think you would have been, pulling your hair out, actually, because I've done stats for you, and it's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, we almost had Columbia and Ephrata back around week 5-ish, and it's a shame we did not get to see that.